The founder of BET, Robert L. Johnson, who was the first black billionaire in America, has called for $14 trillion in reparations. Do you see that actually happening in your lifetime?
No.
Why is that?
This country giving blacks $14 trillion in reparations. What they haven't even given us an apology. Nobody's even apologized for slavery. So, and I don't think that that's what's needed anyway. I don't think that we need money to get us out of our situation. I think that we need to have a revolution of our minds, the way we think about economics, the way we think about ourselves. We have to look at ourselves and see what is going on. I mean, we make enough money right now, blacks to literally do whatever they want to do.
As a whole, though, if you look at the overall salary of black people as a whole compared to other races, yes, there are black millionaires. There are a few black billionaires now. But as a whole, let's take a look.
But I go with, it's not how much money you make, it's what you do with the money that you make is the important thing. Yeah, we're probably the most unemployed. But we make 1.2 trillion, I think, a year comes through our hands.
Okay, here we go. The median black male income was around $24,000 compared to the median white non-Hispanic male income, which is $37,000. $24,000 versus $37,000.
And they talking about the ones that work.
Yeah.
And most blacks ain't working.
You're looking at 54% difference in wage. Quite a bit.
Yeah, but it's not. And see the way I look at life, though, I don't really look at it as how much money you make. With me, it's always, what are you doing with that money that you make?
This is very true. But to be fair, doing something with your money only works if you're making enough to cover your expenses.
No, that's not true, though.
How much money can you invest if you have, let's just say you're a single mother with 2 children, right? You're making, you take this
welfare.
male.
You're on welfare.
No, let's take welfare out of the equation, because once you're talking about welfare, then you're talking about a whole different system. But let's just say you're, the working poor, a woman. Now this is a black male, so female might even be a little bit lower. But let's just keep it at that. You're making $24,000 a year. You have 1 or 2 children, and you don't have a husband or someone who lives with you who's contributing.
Right.
How much can you really save?
Very little. Very
little, if anything. In fact, you're probably going to go into debt to try to make ends meet.
Well, what you have to do, though, is you have to rearrange your expenses. You have to find a cheaper way to live.
Right. Maybe move somewhere else.
Maybe move in. Maybe rent a room out for a while. I mean, you have to get your expenses down off the bat. If
Right.
if you're not making enough to pay your bills,
Mm-hmm.
then you have to change something about what you're doing.
Right. My point is that, yeah, you could cut a few corners here. You could try to get a second job, which is what people do. They could find a
Well, you
side
can't
hustle.
do that if you got kids and you don't have nobody to watch your kids.
Well, there you go. You're stuck with that. But what I'm saying is, as someone who invests heavily, that's probably, stock investing for me transformed everything about my life, right? But that only happened when I started making real money. When I was still kind of paycheck to paycheck, hustle to hustle, I didn't have anything to invest.
Right.
It was all going back into my rent, into my car, into my gas, into my stomach. You know what I mean? And if there's anything left over, you do want to have a little bit of fun with it.
We got to be strong enough even to change what goes into our stomach.
Yeah.
One of the reasons I only eat once a day is because that helps me save money. That cuts down on my expenses. Not only is it healthy for me,
I think it's more healthy than saving money for you.
Well, at first, though, it was good that I only ate once a day.
Right. But these days,
I don't have to worry about that.
You don't have to worry about the
expense
of breakfast and dinner. All right.
It was the time that it did, though.
I got you.
And,
Right.
and what I'm saying is
for me also, there was points where I couldn't afford a meal. Like I get it. I was homeless at one point. I get it. I get it. But at the end of the day, you do need a certain level of disposable income in order to invest the money. That's why I've always felt there's no such thing as a middle class. You either make a certain amount of money that you then invest, which turns into more money, or you're just spending what you're making and you're essentially poor, regardless of what your salary is. You could be making $200,000 a year and be poor.
Absolutely.
You could be making $70,000 a year, and after a few years, you could really be rich because you made smart investments and everything else like that.
Yes. Yes.
That's how I look at it.
And that's the way it is.
Right.
And that's the way we
Yes. But at 20
as a community have to start thinking like that.
But at 24,000, neither one of these equations actually work. You're basically just poor. Right?
Well, if you're making 24,000 and you stay in Cleveland, Ohio, where the rent's only $500 a month, you doing all right for yourself
until the kids come around.
Well, even with the kids, you still can be all right even with the kids, because now you can take some of that money and use it to invest in yourself.
Right.
And in my personal opinion, when I say invest in yourself, the first thing you do is you start reading books. You start to educate yourself. Right. Because without an education, you can't make any money. People do not pay people who are not smart. If you don't know anything, people are not going to pay you. The reason I make money now is because I've learned more about the businesses that I'm doing than I knew when I got out of prison. When I got out of prison, I had a little game, you know what I'm saying? But I didn't know as much as I knew about marijuana then as I know today, or some of the other businesses that I do. So what I'm saying is that we have to start to educate ourselves.